जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। कैसे हैं आप सब? उम्मीद है कि आप सब खैरियत से होंगे और अल्लाह आपको खैरियत से ही रखे। And today's once again I welcome you all in my YouTube channel that is exploring the concepts. So this is Kingdom Animalia chapter number 9. My today's topic is from Kingdom Animalia. I just have started this chapter, and we all discuss all of the things which is needed by the syllabus of Federal Board FBISC, and so it just contains all of the things which is needed by this syllabus for HSSC and HSSC 1 for the time. And first of all, we need to know what are animals. Up till now, you have completed all of the kingdoms like kingdom prokaryote, monera, then protista, then fungi, then plantae, and last kingdom is animalia. So you have a well understanding about all of the terms, that what is unicellular, multicellular, heterotroph, autotrophs, prokaryotes, eukaryotes. So I'm just going to review these terms. That animals are multicellular. First of all, they are multicellular. This is the group having more than one cell, more than one cell. This is the group having more than one cell, and these are the group called heterotrophs, as they do not depend, they cannot produce food on their own. It means they are unable to produce any, they are unable to produce any energy producing stock molecule in their body. So that's why they have to depend on other organisms that have the capability to produce a highly energetic compounds in them, like for example the plants. And they are eukaryotes as well, means obviously after monera all of the world, rest of the world have eukaryotic cells. And the animals are heterotrophs, and as far as heterotrophic nutrition is concerned, so they consume dead, they consume living, they consume as they spend their life as parasites, carnivores, herbivores. So animals are of so many types depending upon the heterotrophic mode, but all of them have heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And next is they have complex tissue and specialized tissue. We will discuss this later in the lecture. What is the meaning of having complex tissue structure and specialized tissues? Then animals typically reproduce sexually. Most, in fact, all of the organisms, all of the animals can reproduce sexually, along with some of the groups have asexual reproduction methods too, but all of the organisms, they reproduce sexually. And animals are made up of cells that do not have cell wall. This is the only group, this group, animals and animal-like protists, do not have cell wall, while the rest of the world have cell wall around them. Because this group have the power of locomotion in one way or the other. They can locomote. They have behavioral adaptations. They have behavioral adaptations, and in this locomotion is well adapted to them. And above all of them have, as far as human beings are concerned, they have the highly developed nervous system, while rest of the animals have nervous system according to their need. Anyway, this locomotion is basically working on the basis of the working of their nervous system. So their nervous system and their power of locomotion is basically protect them from their immediate environment, from the dangers of their immediate environment. So they do not have cell walls, so they didn't mind this, because they have those two very great powers. So animals are capable of motion in some stage of their lives. Then classification based upon organization of tissues. So first of all, we are going to divide the organisms, animals, into two groups depending upon the presence or absence of tissue organization. So for this, you have to tell me that can you recall the topic in your ninth book, levels of organization. So as far as levels of organization is concerned, it has the first heading is about subatomic level. Then after combination of the subatomic level, the atoms will form. Then atoms, the combination of atoms in a specific ratio of molecules will form. Then the combination of molecule results in the formation of organelles, and then organelles will form in the formation of organelles will form a cell, and the combination of cells is called as tissue. So the first group of animal, which is called as protozoans, animal-like protist. that protozoans, they have single cell, they are single celled organisms. And now I am discussing tissues. It means it's not about the protozoans. This is the story about all of the animals having multicellular body. So first group is Parazoa and the other group is Metazoa. So on the basis of tissues means presence or absence of tissues. Parazoa didn't show any presence of tissue. They are multicellular bodies, but they do not have true tissues, right? While Metazoa have the development of the tissue level. ठीक हो गया? So Parazoa, as far as Parazoa is concerned, so for this understanding, you can um, take an example from the Volvox colony. That Volvox is actually an algae, and it is colonial organism, and it has millions of organisms living together in that colony. But there is no division of labor. Means every cell is dependent on its own self. It didn't depend to any of the other cell for any of the vital activity. So this is what is called as colonial. Means sometimes they are considered as some simple multicellular organisms, but there is no tissue development, there is no tissue organization. Same is the case with the Parazoa. Sponges, yes, sponges are the best example of the Parazoa. They have numerous cells in their body, but these cells do not depend on upon each other. They do everything for its own self. So there is, you can say that the Parazoa is a cellular organization. Parazoa, it's a cellular organization. These are the organisms that lack true tissues. Now, Eumetazoa. Eumetazoa, I will discuss Eumetazoa later. Then Parazoa. The tissue of metazoans demonstrate true multicellularity without a true gut. So it includes only the phylum Porifera, the sponges. This group is distinguished from the Eumetazoa by the fact that their tissues are poorly defined and they lack true organs. Obviously, there is no tissue, then there is no organ development. So this is the group Porifera. They are the best example of parazoans having the multiple cells, but there is no tissue development. And sponges have unique development. It means the method through which rest of the groups have developed, they have a unique different parameters of the development, and their structure is so simple, which is not present in the rest of the organisms. And the body symmetry, and their body is not symmetrical as well. So symmetry we will discuss later. And then Eumetazoa. Now come to the next group, that is called as Eumetazoa. In Eumetazoa, these are called as the multicellular true metazoans with multicellular organs. And I have left a term, different complex tissue structures and specialized tissue. Now, before discussing this eumetazoa, we need to discuss two terms: undifferentiated tissues and differentiated tissues. Undifferentiated cell, you can say. Like for example, zygote is capable of producing all other types of cells. So zygote is basically a differentiated cell. While, like for example, my liver cell is just capable of producing new liver cells. New My muscle cells are capable of producing new muscle cell, which is needed by me. But zygote is capable of producing both liver cells and muscle cells, because that is called as an undifferentiated cell. So undifferentiated cells means a cell which is capable of producing every type of cell. Now the term I'm using here is differentiated tissue. It means the cells form first of all an undifferentiated cell, then it produces the tissue. That tissue will later on divided according to the information present inside them. They redivide, by the way, and then differentiation occur, in which every cell is destined to perform its own special duty, right? So that special duty is basically make it as a differentiated one. So eumetazoans have differentiated tissues, that every tissue have its own specific destined task. And characteristics of eumetazoans include true tissue organized into germ layers and an embryo that goes through a gastrula stage. In these groups, all of the embryo will go through the gastrula stage gastrula stage, I will let you know in my next classification. And eumetazone contains tissues that are differentiated into two tissue forms. I'm hoping that the difference between parazoa and eumetazoa will be cleared now. Parazoa is the group of cell which is all of the cells are not differentiated. There is no tissue organization in parazones, and all of the cells are um, in parazones. All of the cells are क्या कहते हैं sorry cellular organization. Parazone is, you can say that parazones are the cellular organization. Parazones, basically the word means besides animals, means these are the animals too, but a little bit different from the true animal. They are heterotrophs, there is multicellularity, they do not have cell wall, but the only one thing which is different from the animal, that they do not have differentiated tissues. Okay, like eumetazoa are true metazoans. They have all of the differentiated tissues along with the development from three germ layers in the gastrula. So this is what about parazoa and eumetazoa. Then this is an example of parazone. This organism too have two layer of cells. Outermost layer is similar to that of in structure, not in function, right? Similar to that of the epidermal cells, and this is the endodermal cells. These endodermal cell, every cell is taking in the food through phagocytosis, and intracellular digestion will give them the food. So this is, now you can look at this picture. This is one of a parazoa. It's a multicellular organism, but it does not have um, tissue organization. By just looking at it on this organism, we consider it as a multicellular organism, but this multicellularity didn't results in tissue organization. So this is another example of being having no proper and true digestive cavity. There is a space which is used for all of the activities. So this is what is called as no true wall, no true gut wall, by the way. Okay, next is classification based upon number of tissues layer. So nature has arranged all of the things in a beautiful way. Now protist contains unicellular protozoans, unicellular animals, right? Then Parazoa contains multicellular, but there is no tissue organization. But now I'm discussing the next step, which is third phylum. First phylum was Protozoa, जो कि Protista का part था. Next phylum is Porifera, जो कि Parazoa है. Or third phylum is this Coelenterata, which is actually having the tissue layers in it. Now we are not discussing the Porifera, and we are moving a little further at third phylum, which is Coelenterata. Classification based upon number of tissue layers. It means tissue has developed. Means now we are discussing only eumetazoa. And in this eumetazoa, there are two different types of animals. Once again, we are doing classification between two groups of organisms. This is a diploblastic organism and it is a triploblastic organism. This diploblastic organism have two layers of living cells. One is blue, one is ectoderm, and that green one is endoderm. The gray layer is basically not a layer. This is a connecting region between ecto and endo, and that connecting region is dead, by the way. This is jelly-like, right? And that jelly-like material is called as mesoglea. There is no third layer found present in diploblastic organisms. So there are, in the world, there are only two. There are two types of animals, diplo and triplo. Diplo are the organisms that have only two layers of cells, ecto and endo, and this is the digestive cavity. And in that case, there we have blue one is once again ectoderm, and green one is endoderm, and that red one is mesoderm. So mesoderm is cellular layer like ectoderm and endoderm. Mesoderm too is a cellular layer, but in that case, this mesoderm is made up of. This is not mesoderm, by the way. For example, ecto means outside, derm means layer or skin, right? So mesoderm, which is, it means middle layer. That middle layer is present in triploblastic, and this is mesoglea, which means a jelly like layer. So there are two types of organism, diplo and triplo, and Those animals in which the developing embryo has a third germinal layer, mesoderm, in between the ecto and endo are called triploblastic animals. For example, Platyhelminthes means our fourth phyla is starting from triploblastic. So this is how they they will develop into this respective organs. Okay, our ectoderm that is indicating you in orange color. Ectodermal tissue, basically this layer is going to develop our skin and nervous system. So in any other organism, this layer is destined to produce skin and nervous system. And endoderm is responsible for the development of digestive system on the whole, and some part of the excretory or the reproductive or the respiratory system as well. Reproductive, I think so. Endo is not involved. So while what about the rest of the body? So mesoderm is responsible for the development of muscles, bones. So all of the connective tissues, part of reproductive is basically made from mesodermal layer. So these three layers are basically are called as germ layers. These germ layers is basically in at, at the stage of development. Whenever a growing embryo developed these three layers, it means there is a time that is called as early gastrula. And by after that time, these organs, these layers will develop into their specific organs, and that was what is called as gastrulation. And whenever that organogenesis has completed, we call it as that this is the end of the gastrulation, and the development of that organism is completed, and now the growth is will be going on. So this is the cross section of a triploblastic organism, and this is the cross section of a diploblastic organism. It means कि skin, a sort of nervous system will be there in these organisms as well, but this layer is endoderm, which is responsible for the digestive system, and there is no muscles at all and no bones at all because there is no mesoderm. And the nervous system, with the development of the nerves and the muscles, they define the size of the body as well. And these organisms are comparatively soft and very simple structured. And there is only single group which is diploblastic. That is Coelenterata hydra is an example of this phylum. Now, this is the difference between these two groups. You need to read all these things. This is ectoderm, germ layer covering the embryo surface. Innermost digestive is going to develop from endoderm. Diploblastic animals have ectoderm and endoderm. Triploblastic animals have an intervening mesoderm layer. These include as bilaterians. So this is the difference between the two groups, and they have mentioned the examples as well. Tinophora, the what Tinophora is mentioned here, and Tinophora is basically the jellyfishes and related groups. So if you have any question, you can ask me freely. You can write me in the comments. So I thank you all for the patience listening. We will meet again, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.